Thank you everybody for coming to tonight's session. I'm Jennifer Shahade and I am here with a very exciting guest. We have our reigning U.S. Women's Champion, now two-time U.S. Women's Champion, Jennifer Yu. She is going to show us some of her highlights from this incredible victory. Jen, I know you're very busy between winning U.S. Chess Championship titles and between your college schedule. So really grateful that you made the time and you're going to show us some of your highlights. She's also going to answer some questions at the end, guys. So be sure to keep them and come up with them. You can even put them in the chat now and I'll save them for later. Jen, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to meet you guys. I think I've talked to the girls club here before, so I see some familiar faces, but it's great to be back. So I can go ahead. So I prepared a couple of fun kind of like puzzles, like interesting positions in my games. And then if we get through them, then I can we go over my last round game, which is really important because it got me to tie for first, which allowed me to play a playoff, which is the reason why I won. So I want to start kind of like a simple puzzle at first, just a really nice mate in 5.
Okay, so what would you guys do as white here? I'm going to put up a poll for this one.
Oops. So here, black just played queen e2.
White to move. All right, who wants to raise their hand and tell us the winning variation? Oh, somebody beat me to the punch here. Andika.
I actually think rook takes h7 is best. King takes h7 is forced. Then we play bishop takes g6. If king h8, then we have queen to h4, and that's almost checkmate. The queen could just sacrifice itself, but we win next move. And if rook takes h7, king takes h7, bishop takes g6. If f takes g6, oh wait a minute. Turns out the pawn is defending the square for the queen.
All right. Let's call on someone else.
Oh wait, never mind. The pawn is pinned, so that means the queen to h4 is possible. Oh wait, never mind. We already sacrificed this up.
Ambika, I love the way you're visualizing and seeing new things. Let's call on someone else though. Laurel, because I know you have to leave kind of soon. Laurel?
I have an idea that maybe someone else can build off of because I'm not entirely sure about it. But I'm thinking I like knight takes g6 because then if pawn takes, because he has to take back with the f pawn, and he doesn't necessarily have to take, but assuming that they do take, you might have rook takes h2 and then, or h7, and then when king takes, you can play queen takes g6. And because the f file is blocked by the rook, you could get your queen to h7 and checkmate. I'm not entirely sure all those lines work though, because it was a short amount of time. So if anyone else saw something similar.
Delilah, what do you have to say?
I think it's knight takes g6, and then f takes, and then and then you play rook takes h7, and then I think if the king takes, you can play queen takes g6 and then h7. But the king could play king g8, bishop g5 check, and then the king would have to take the rook. No, that wouldn't work.
That was really good, Delilah. I think that you're finding the most difficult part against knight takes g6, which is what happens after f takes g6, rook takes h7, and then king g8. So this is a little tricky here. So if anyone has a follow-up to that.
So you said what did you say again, Jen? You said after knight g6, pawn g6.
Yeah, because I think Laurel earlier, she found the right. Laurel did work. Knight takes g6, takes rook takes h7. If king takes h7, you were right. Queen takes g6, king g8. Then queen h7 is checkmate because this rook on is controlling this, and then we get a queen here. So we can show this on the position later. I just want you guys to visualize this right now. And then, but we have a little bit of a problem here, which is a little more difficult, which is the black king might not take the rook. Like Delilah said, so after knight takes g6, f takes g6, rook takes h7, king g8. How does white continue?
Well, let's say Yashawini. Is that right? Is that right? Or is it a Yithi?
You could just call me Yash.
Yash, okay. Lovely.
So knight takes g6, f takes g6, rook takes h7 check, king to g8, then bishop to c4, bishop to d5 check, rook to f7, then bishop takes f7 check, king to f8, and then knight takes g6. I think it's a checkmate.
Wait, okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. After bishop d5, does black have any other options?
Oh no, wait. After bishop d5, black has rook f7.
Yeah, so remember, so knight takes g6. Oops, let me show you. Knight takes g6, f takes g6, rook takes h7, king g8. Remember, this rook isn't defended here. The only reason black couldn't take was because black was afraid of checkmate, because we had queen takes g6. But after bishop d5, you can take on h7 now, because queen takes g6 is no longer protected.
Oh yeah.
Madison, did you want to add something?
Let's see it.
Because you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I thought I saw the answer. Knight x g6, f x g6. Like we talked about, rook x h7, king g8. What about rook x g7? And once the king takes, queen x g6 check, and then the king to h8, queen h6 check, king g8 check, bishop d5 check, and then the rook has to go to f7, and then bishop x f7 checkmate.
Yeah, Madison, you're on the right track, but there's a little bit of a shortcut. After rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen takes g6, king h8. What can you do? But you're very close.
Tori.
I think after rook takes g7, king h8, rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen takes g6, king h8. I think you just have checkmate on h7, the queen.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, so let's put this on the board. I like this. This is a group effort. Everyone contributed. But so rook takes here. So we went through that this doesn't work because queen h7 checkmate. So this was the line that we were looking at. Rook takes h7, king g8, rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen takes g6, king h8, and then now we have checkmate here. Queen h7, because this bishop is protecting the queen. So yeah, so but this was we have to look a little far in advance because you have to see knight takes g6 here. So I accidentally showed knight takes g6 on the board, which is why like I spit a little in the beginning. I was like, because I played it too fast, I kind of showed it on accident. But it looks like you guys didn't notice, so that was good. But this was hope you guys enjoyed this puzzle. So they are going to get a little more difficult now after this one.
And this was against Sophie Mura Suzuki, who has previously come to our club. In fact, I believe she was in a college and chess panel with you where she was singing, and she has just an unbelievably beautiful voice. So definitely a multi-talented person.
Yeah, definitely. So the next thing I'm going to show, can you guys see this on the screen?
Yes, I see the game between you and Anna Zatansky.
Yes, so Anna Zatansky is, I believe she's a 4-time US Women's Champion. I played her many times, and we always get in very like interesting endgame kind of position where things kind of flip. So here I'm black, and I'm up by a pawn in an endgame, but it's not so easy to win this because my king can't really come over to here and get the pawn because the rook is trolling it. My rook can't really leave because then the rook can take here. So rook endgames are very known to be very drawish. So here I had to find something tactical to win this game. So one thing that I noticed was that this king was cut off, which meant that there might be some ideas that I could do to make use of the fact that the king is very far. So ideally, I want to take this pawn, but I don't want to lose this pawn. So here I had, okay, so I think we can go a little further in advance and then show the puzzle. So here, the only move that would be winning here is rook so this is my move, rook e7. And my idea right now is I want to be able to check the king and then use these checks to swing over to this file to protect this pawn this way, which will allow my king to go here. So this is kind of the setup of my idea. But it gets a little complicated because by doing this, I let her king back into the game this way. And then, so if her king gets in really far and like somewhere around here where it's close to pawns, then my idea might not work either. So here she plays king up. So I want to check in order to do my idea to swing over. So she moves up, check, king here, swings over, and then now she moves her king up. So now I'm in a kind of a tricky situation because I got my rook here, but it looks like, oops, I got my rook here, but now her king is very close to my pawn and she's going to be able to take it in one move or in the next two moves. So I have to come up with a really concrete idea on how to continue. So any ideas on how to win this position here as black?
Dia.
I would take the rook. Rook takes g6 and then h takes g6 because I think I can promote from there.
So this is a really good idea because you're right. Now the h pawn is free to roam. But remember one thing, this g pawn is very far down and the king is close to this pawn. So we have to calculate this race. What happens if the king takes this pawn and then pushes it? So I want you to just spend some time and see, like, are we able to promote in time? Is White able to promote before us? Like, what is going on in this position after? Here, I will play this out on the board.
Tori?
Wait, can you go to the original position for a second? I was thinking, I'm not too sure of this because I didn't calculate it too much, but I was thinking maybe rook g5. So if like king f7, you could go king g4. And then after king takes g7, king h5, if the rook takes on g5, then you take with the h pawn and then you're going to promote. And I mean, if you don't take, I think you have to because then black's just threatening rook takes g6 and you're up a rook and a pawn.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, let's move back to the previous position and then we'll come back to this just because I want to forget this. But no, you made some really good points here, so we'll come back. But so after take here, I think when I saw some people, put in the chat that it can promote at the same time because the pawn is far enough down that White is just in time. And now this is a draw. Okay, so now back to Tori's idea. So rook g5 is a really difficult move to find, actually. So this is really good find. But yeah, your idea is completely correct, which is what I did in the game. After rook g5, she can't take on g5 because then we promote. And then you're one move too slow here in this situation because I promote with check. Wait, no, this is not right. Okay, actually, this is wrong. Sorry, ignore that. We will come back to this in a second because after rook g5, king f7, you were right here, king g4, takes, and this is perfect, take here. And this is a really cool idea because now this rook is pinned. And then so this is why this rook isn't able to take this pawn. And now you're forced to trade off and then we'll promote. Okay, so sorry, let's go back to the other possible line, which is what she played, which is after rook g5. What happens after takes, and then king f7?
Yasha. Or Yash.
So you can just push the pawn on the g file.
I think that's what you just showed, right, Jen?
Yeah, but I didn't really put show all the way. But so what happens is
Yeah,
when you push
show the
the
whole thing. Yeah,
pawn,
let's go. Mhm.
so it's very close. So even though you promote with check here, does anyone know the rules about queen versus pawns in the 7th rank?
Nethra.
Whenever it's a rook pawn, like the queen has promoted with the check, the king can like go for a draw by in this position.
Yeah, so on the 7th, a queen versus a pawn on the 7th rank is winning, except if it's an a pawn or if it's a rook pawn or a bishop pawn. So if it's the reason why it's not winning when there's a bishop pawn is because there are some stalemate ideas, which is the same for a rook pawn. So in this situation, for example, we just go into the corner here. Now black has to move this queen off of this file, because if you play something like this, well, now we have stalemate. So if you want to move it off of the file, like say you go here, check, and then king comes here, like you're threatening to promote. So no matter what, you just kind of go around, and you won't be able to stop like you can keep on checking, but it's not gonna work, because then it'll just be a draw. So this is the reason why, even though we promote in time, this is still a draw. So in this situation, are there any other ideas?
Madison.
So after king f2, I thought about king g4. And if he does take the pawn, I just take on h5. But if the white king goes on g6, king h4 also stops the idea of king x g7, and also you're getting your king out of the way of promoting your pawn, the g pawn. And you kind of just keep that g7 pawn, preventing the h pawn from promoting.
Yeah, so this is a really cool Zuck's main idea here, which is after king g4, you can't take here, like you pointed out, because then you lose this pawn, and king g6, and now it's really nice move, king h4, and there's no way, like white is in Zuck's one here, because if you take this, you lose this, and then there's no other moves. So yeah, some really nice ideas here. Rook g5 was really impressive to find. It was definitely not the most intuitive move, but it just all works out in the end, which is really cool, I think. Okay, so we can move on to the next game.
I love that move, Jen, because it's also, we're doing an endgame lesson on Saturday with our friends from like Kenya. And I think that it's funny how that rook g5 move just encompasses so much endgame theory. Like, you know, in addition to the queen endgame theory, which you just need to know, there's like all those exceptions to it, right? Like sometimes your king can come into checkmate. So it's just like one position, but you can kind of study all the permutations of it for like an hour or hours.
Yeah, this is why I feel like all the coaches are always like, you gotta study your end games, because even though you don't get it on the board all the time, it's most of the time it doesn't happen, but you need to know it, because then you know not to get into that situation. Because otherwise it might be like, oh, we promote with check, I'm probably winning against the pawn. But then if you study the end game, it'd be like, oh no, it's actually a draw. So this is why end games are so tricky. Okay, so in this game, I was white against Nazpakise, who is also a two times US Women's Champion. So this game was incredibly messy. So I played a very bad opening, was just completely worse out of the opening, and then somehow managed to turn it around, so I was completely winning. And then right before time control, I just kind of had a little, I was just playing under time pressure and kind of did some very bad moves. So now I'm in a pretty uncomfortable situation here, because even though I'm up by a pawn here as white, she's in complete control of the c file. She's attacking here. This bishop is super powerful. So I'm almost I'm much worse here in this position, but I managed to find one little chance here. So after queen e3, she played queen c3. And now I have to create some ideas where I'm able to create counterplay. So does anyone have any ideas on how to create play in this position? Because otherwise it looks like she's just going to take all of my pawns and then probably checkmate me. h4 is also coming maybe at some point.
So ideas for counterplay. Maybe we can call on somebody who hasn't participated yet. Some new hands. You can use your Zoom hand or your real hand if you have your video on. Ritha gave me an idea, but I don't know if she wants to be unmuted. Ritha, are you with us? Yeah, this is from the U.S. Women's Championship. That's right, Delilah, the one that Jen just won. Very important. I mean, that's actually one of the things that Jen is famous for coming up with ideas and positions that are bad and keeping things messy, keeping things interesting, fighting, right? In fact, that was your last lesson to the girls' club.
Yeah. I was going to say my last girls' club lesson was on swindles, which is definitely the case for some of these games here in this tournament.
Yeah. If any of you guys saw her last game, I have a poll about that also, but I'll bring that in later. Let's see. Okay, I do have somebody in the chat mentioning to me that F5 makes sense. That's from Ritha. And Yash, what did you think?
What the chat just said, I actually agree with it, because you should actually push your pawns and open the black king a bit, because it's not really open, and then you can bring in your rook and knight, and if possible, you could bring your knight on e5 with a really good check, and then, I mean, you could expose the king, and there's going to be a chance of checkmate.
Okay, thank you, Yash. And Tori, what about you? Did you want to mention your ideas before we move on?
Yeah, I also just agree with F5 because, I mean, you could even sacrifice E6 afterwards to get the knight on E5 because the queen is only being defended by the rook while it can be attacked by the queen and the rook. So I think that just opens up the position and allows it to be more easily attacked.
So these are really good points. So yeah, in this situation, in the last few moves, I've kind of been building up for this one chance, this one opportunity. So I didn't really show the position before this, but I kind of was hoping that she would go queen c3 here because this is a really natural response. And then f5 here is was my idea. So I see some questions in the chat, what's swindling? So that's just a term. It means kind of just being tricky and pulling off something that shouldn't work, I guess you could say. So that's just kind of my way of saying when you come back from a bad position and then by doing something that might objectively not be the best option, but it is very practical, as in it might be difficult for your opponent to play against. So f5 here is the best move. So this isn't entirely a swindle. This is just trying to come back from bad position. So after f5, we got some really good points, which is if e takes f5. Now it's a very tricky situation because I have a lot of really good ideas. So e6 was pointed out, which I think e6 king e8 might be a little complicated, but it's a good idea. Also, we have queen g5, which the idea is we're attacking all of these pawns, and then if something like g6, the queen can infiltrate this way. So lots of good ideas here. So basically, she can't really take on f5. So instead, she went for an idea to put the most pressure on me, which is queen a1 check, king h2, and now queen f1. And she is threatening, well, she's attacking this pawn, but also she's threatening, more importantly, to take this and checkmate me. So here, the most natural move for me is to continue on and take this pawn. And she can't really take back, because if she takes back the bishop, now I have time because this bishop is no longer attacking this pawn. I can bring my knight in. I can kind of consolidate position. I can trade off the queens. So, and she also can't take with the king because same thing. So that means that she has to choose where to move the king. You can't really put it here because then I come in and check. And you can't, it's not that nice to put it here. It's not that ideal to put it here because you're just going to run into some issues after, I think, knight f4 here. So instead she played king g8. And now I had to figure out a way to defend this pawn. And the thing is, it's actually kind of tricky here because the most ideal, I think the most natural defense here is knight f4. But now she has a pretty cool idea is rook c1. So instead of attacking g2, she had another threat, which is queen f1, was making room for the rook to come and mate me here. So now I have to figure out how to play on. Does anyone have any ideas they want to share? Oh, why can't black take the e6 pawn earlier? Well, black can only take the pawn here. And then if king takes, we have knight check that comes in. And bishop takes, we have queen check here, which trades off the queens. And then I'm no longer in danger. So here, knight f4, which allows rook c1. But I had a follow-up idea to this. Okay, so knight e1 blocks rook c1, but there's another issue with knight e1. So what else can black do if I go knight e1?
Ambika suggests rook e2 in the chat.
Yeah, so rook e2, and then the queen and knight are double attacked. Okay, so here, king g8, knight f4, and then rook c1, and how shall we continue?
Crazy position. Wow. Crazy. Any ideas in the chat? You can private message me if you'd like. Okay, I see we got a couple ideas from Yash and Tori who've been raising their hands a lot. So I wondered if anyone else had a choice. This is crazy though. This is not easy to come up with ideas. I get it. The threats seem overwhelming. Madison, what do you say?
I thought about rook x g4. It seems like a really bad sacrifice, but it at least gets the king out of the way. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I'm actually thinking of queen x c1, because it seems like a better off trade, because once the queen takes, knight x c5 or d5, protecting the e pawn when with the idea of moving e7 and trying to promote.
Yeah, so so rook to g4 is something I also considered, but I was thinking about this like early on here. When I play knight f4, I make this decision on what to do. So when I play knight f4 here, I was thinking, okay, these are both options, and rook takes g4 actually looks really tempting for a long time because takes, knight takes, and then it looks very dangerous. You might be able to promote. But there is a really big issue with rook takes g4 here, which I noticed later on, which is you can play rook e1, which is an in-between move. And now if the queen moves, you also have this check available. And then the rook comes in here too. So that was an issue. So yeah, queen takes c1 is what I played in the game, which is the idea is even the knight and rook is enough counterplay for the queen because my pawn is so close to promoting. And that's going to be very tricky tactically. But that doesn't mean it's all over because she still has some ideas. Like she played queen g5 here with the idea of checking and then taking here. But really nice pawn, Madison. So after queen g5, I go e7 anyways because this was just very tricky because if I play something like rook c3, I might run into trouble because now she has ideas like h4 to push this pawn this way. And if there's ever a pawn on g3, it gets very, very dangerous. So here I played e7 first. So she played king f7 because it's not worth coming in this way because I might even be able to play rook h3 here, which is kind of cool. I think this works. g3 and then king come in here because it's important not to go in this way because then now you're losing because the queen can come down. But
oh my God, that's so crazy.
Yeah, so this was very crazy also because both of us didn't have any time left. Or maybe I just didn't. I just remember not having time here. So this was a lot of pressure at this point. But so e7, so she plays the correct move, king f7. But now I have to figure out what to do because she has all these threats. And I want to continue my plan of promoting pawn. So how should I continue here?
Let's see. How should she continue? Tori.
I was thinking e6 check here because if king takes e8, if king g6 or king g8, you promote, and if the king takes on e6, what I think they have to, rook e3 check. And if the king moves out of the way, you promote. And then after queen h4, there's no perpetual because the e1 square is guarded. And then I think you're up a rook. So probably queen takes e3, knight takes e3, king takes e7, and then you're up a knight.
Okay, so I like your idea of e6 to divert the king. But what happens here? Because I see a lot of people saying king e6. E6. What happens if king e8?
I think you just have knight c7 check. And then. Oh, wait,
knight
no.
c7, I remember that. Yeah, the knight was here.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot. I think maybe you can go. I was thinking maybe rook c3 then, but queen h4 and then e1 isn't guarded, so.
Actually, it's really close. Because I think queen h4, you're fine. Oh, sorry, continue. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I don't know if e6 works anymore, but.
So yeah. I think you're on the right track. So rook c3 is what you want to be thinking. But the problem here isn't queen h4, is that because you move this e pawn, this knight's hanging.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too.
And then e7. So this is pretty tricky. So here I played rook c3 directly first. So I have this idea now. Now e6 is a big threat because if king e8, then I have this. So everything you guys said was correct from the previous move. So now she has to figure out something to do about that. And then it turns out this is very tricky, but after queen h4, king g1, queen check here, she couldn't find anything better. So we just ended up having perpetual here in this situation. But I think, but it was just very tricky because there was always, every single move you had to look for G3 ideas to try not to get mated. But this was a really nice puzzle because even though you ended up drawing, at this position I was much worse. So f5, and we got into this kind of forced sequence, which was really long, but ended up into a very strangely drawn endgame.
That's right, Via. The game was a draw, yes.
Yeah, so this is actually here. So here it's kind of a situation where it looks like both sides is trying to win. But the thing is, she can't win because then I'm going to promote my pawn. And then if I try to promote my pawn too aggressively, then she's going to checkmate me. So it was kind of a weird situation where we just accepted this perpetual check.
Very cool material imbalance. Not one you get every day. Jen, did you have, I think you guys have some really good questions. So we're going to go to Q&A now, as I want to give everybody a good, nice chance to ask their questions. So raise your hand. And also, if you don't really feel like giving your question over the camera, feel free to either private message me or message in the chat, and we can get to some of those as well. Madison, you want to start off with your question?
Yeah. So first off, I just want to tell Jennifer that she's pretty much my idol. That's because she's so great at chess, and also she goes to Harvard, which is my dream college. My question was, how do you juggle everything with practicing with chess and playing chess tournaments? Also with Harvard. And does your professors ever let you ever an extend assignment date, or how do you figure that out?
Thank you, Madison. You're so sweet. Oh, that meant a lot to me. So this is actually something that I'm still learning on how to balance, because I think I was pretty good at balancing school and chess throughout high school, but college is just a lot more demanding, especially Harvard. So what happened is right now I'm a sophomore, which means it's my second year. So last year, my first year in college, I actually kind of retired from chess. So I kind of took a break just because school was a lot. And I just wanted to kind of get used to that first before I start playing tournaments. So I decided this summer that I want to play chess again. And so it was going to be a big commitment during the school year, but it's something new that I'm still learning and working on. So before the tournament, I really try to, do some chess studying, but it's really, really difficult in college, I think. So it's just, I'm still balancing on figuring out what things I like, because I'm in other activities as well. So I think I might have to, maybe spend more time on chess and maybe not do every single activity that I want or something like that. So classes wise, so my professors were pretty supportive of me going to play the tournament, but I didn't really get a single extension. So I was turning in all my papers during the tournament, which was definitely really challenging, but I think it was a good learning experience on how to manage my time. But I think it really depends on the school, the schools and the professors specifically. But yeah, I did everything on time, which was difficult. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but I was just curious, what were the papers that you submitted during the U.S. Women's Championship? Like, what were the topics?
Oh, so I had so we have these classes called like general education classes, which you have to take 4 in order to graduate. So one of them that I'm taking is on Chinese ethical and political theory, which is it was just basically about Chinese philosophy, and so I had to write one of those during the tournament. And then I just had we have a lot of weekly work, like normal homework that I do. So just things like that. But it was definitely hard because, my games go so long. So I'm playing 5 hours of chess and then prepping. And then after that, just working on school.
Wow. Okay. We got a lot of questions queued up. Anvika.
I actually have 2 questions. The first question is, do you use any websites or any books to help you improve to how you got to where you are now?
So growing up, I mainly only did puzzles. I'm not sure whether that's what they recommend for everyone, but for me, that really worked because if you see the little puzzles I show you, I really like to do tactical things. So I did Tactics Trainer on chess.com for a very long time. I think for a few years, that was all I did. So the number of puzzles I've done on chess.com is a lot, but there are also, I'm sure, yeah, I think it's mainly, I just did puzzle books and tactics online.
Okay, my second question is, how does it feel to be a 2-time champion? How does it feel?
Well, it does feel really great. It just feels really different because when the first time I won, I was also in high school. It was something that I never thought I would do. I could do. So it was just a very new experience to me. And so this time I feel a lot more grown because, I grew up kind of, I'm in college now, I have a different life, but also it makes me feel validated that, it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just complete luck, because that's what I felt like after I won the first time. It was I can actually do this. So it was definitely very encouraging.
Sujana. Yeah, thanks, Anvika, for the questions. Awesome. Sujana?
So my question was do you have any tips to do something in a specific topic, not just end games, but types of tactics like forks, skewers,
I think there are puzzle books where it's they have section where it's only forks, only skewers, whatever. Or I'm pretty sure you can also filter online. I never did that, but I think that's an option. But I think that's a good way to learn if you want to really get it ingrained, the patterns ingrained in your brain, and then to kind of mix them all together.
Via, what's your question?
I wanted to know what's your favorite type of tactic.
Oh, my favorite type of tactic. This is a tricky question. I don't know. I think I really like, this isn't really a type of tactic, but I really like random like moves that are in the middle of a tactic that aren't forced, that like aren't forcing. So it's just very satisfying to look at.
Like
So
a
kind of like rook
quiet
g5.
move? Like a
Hmm?
quiet move?
Yeah, like rook g5 in the first position where it wasn't something forcing, rook takes g6, but it's a really cool idea because it's not forcing, but it's still, it is forcing in a sense because it's winning, but it's not like a check or a capture.
Yeah.
There's a cool name for that. I think it came from like a John Nunn book or something, Jennifer, like a collinear move. It's like when you move a rook or a piece on a file or a diagonal, but you don't like capture the thing at the end of the diagonal. So apparently those are hard for people to see.
No,
That's the Chess
definitely.
Kid video.
Oh, you
I forget what it's called. I've heard of it. I know what it is, but I forget its name.
A collinear, maybe it's also a collinear move. Maybe I don't. Or maybe Chess Kid would use a different name for it because that's a kind of fancy name. But Delilah, what's your question since you're participating in your hands up?
I know a couple of people have already asked this, but are there any like specific books that you would recommend or like websites?
So specifics, I'm thinking up to the point where until I was like maybe 1800 to 2000, I mainly only did puzzle books. So that's why I think there isn't like one specific good one. I used Susan Polgar's puzzle book, which I really like, but I'm sure I think there's a lot of really good options out there. And then later on, I think when you're like 2000 and up, I really like the Jakob Agard books, but those are definitely very challenging because I still use them today.
Do you mean the Susan Polgar book, 5,334 puzzles or something?
I don't remember the name, but maybe that is.
I don't know if that's the name, but it's
I think
really
that's
thick.
I think that's the one by her dad, Laszlo.
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering.
Yeah. I think Jen might be talking about ones that are like by Susan herself, like world champion tactics and stuff, possibly.
I think it's like that. And then to answer someone else's question from before, that one also filters it out by like kinds of tactics. So, you have a section on forks and then bishops skewers and all the other kinds.
What was your ratio, Jen, of doing tactics in books versus doing tactics on your computer? Like, was it 50-50 and what about the chessboard? Like, what were the ratios there?
Oh, I never did it on the chessboard, which I did later on when I got stronger for like positional and other kinds of tactics or other kind of puzzles. But I think I did the book up to the point maybe I was like I want to say like 1400, and then after that I almost went entirely online. So it was kind of like a weird split.
So you started with the books and then you went to totally online to get yourself to like 1800, 2000 level?
Yeah, I think I just didn't have the resources of the online stuff back when I was doing the books because I feel like chess.com and all that kind of grew later.
True. But although there are people, for the kids out there are people a lot of coaches who think that if you only do online, sometimes you reach a plateau, especially if you start with online and then you just keep doing online. So the puzzle books are still a good idea. Julie, what's your question?
So is there anything you do like other than chess? Is there any like maybe for example instruments or hobbies that you have?
Yeah, I used to do a lot in high school, and some of them switched and some of them I kind of stopped doing. But I grew up playing piano and flute, and I did a lot of different sports on and off. Now I kind of do dance, and I'm trying to get back into like art and design, but it's just very inconsistent, I'd say, because like sometimes you take more classes one semester and it's difficult for that time.
And what kind of dance, Jen?
Oh, just honestly, like I guess sort of like hip hop open style, but yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, KL in the chat asks if you decided on your college major, and congrats on your second championship.
Oh, thank you. I just declared my major, so I'm studying economics.
Ooh. Do you have a favorite economist? Do you have a favorite economist?
I don't have a favorite economist specifically, but I mean, I think we have some of the best lecturers in the world that were my lecturers last semester. Like I think David Lipson and Jason Furman, they're both like very famous economists.
So cool. So that inspired you. Danielle, hello.
Hi, yeah, coming to you guys from Buffalo, New York. So my car actually got stuck in the snow today. So that's the only reason why I couldn't see the start of that wonderful game you were illustrating. But I wanted to ask you personally, what is it about chess that keeps you coming back and keeps you interested and passionate about the game?
This is a really good question and kind of tough too. So growing up, my favorite thing in chess, like growing up, was, as you might be able to guess, were puzzles, because I just really enjoy like tactical combinations. I think like sometimes if you see a good combination, it's kind of artistic, kind of, also just kind of fun, it feels good to put it out on the board. But I think now I really like this aspect about how it really is such a, mental and psychological game. So, for most of my games, like they're very, just not, very, very up and down. Sometimes I'm in a worse position most of the time in this tournament, but it was just like, I really like this aspect about being able to fight back and then just keep on fighting towards the end. And even if you play a bad game, because I lost quite a few games this tournament, but even if you lose, you still have another chance the next game, just come back, you start over all over again. So I just think that's really unique. I don't think you can really find this like anywhere else.
Love it. The fighting spirit. Tori, your question?
I was just wondering, like in the Armageddon game, after you blundered your bishop in the opening, how you were still able to like keep playing and then eventually win.
Oh, that was just, I mean, I don't know what I was doing in that game, but it was a Armageddon, which meant it was really fast. We didn't have any increment. So at that point, I thought, 99.9% I'm going to lose. So why not just play a few more moves and then lose? Like, I don't need to lose right now, just lose in a few minutes. Doesn't really matter. And then ended up getting a little tricky. And I'm like, okay, now that's a little tricky. I'm going to make her life a little difficult.
Yeah, that was amazing. For those of you who didn't see it, it certainly gave a new meaning to the idea of don't resign. Okay, who has not had their chance to ask a question? I think Yasha, you didn't get one in. Okay, Yasha?
I actually have two things to say. First of all, I like challenges, and your puzzles were very challenging, so I like them a lot. And second, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Was there a question, or puzzles just really fun?
I just wanted to say two things.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's so sweet, Yash. And I agree, they were really challenging, really awesome. Delilah, did you have one more question?
I was wondering if anybody plays like an instrument. I play guitar.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of people in the chat who mentioned playing piano and guitar. So yes.
I named one piano and one guitar.
Very cool. Thank you, Delilah. Madison, we probably have time for this one more question, or if there's something in the chat. So
So I want to ask Jennifer if she had any not favorite coaches, but favorite player styles. Who would be your favorite player, and and if you like their style, or whose style you like best.
So this is I've never been able to answer a question like who's your favorite player, just because I think it's so hard to choose someone. But I think now I'm starting to gravitate towards these very, creative players like Zubov and Richard Rapport, just because I think they have really fun games and they play really weird openings a lot. So, but growing up, I always be like, oh, Judith Polgar, Magnus Carlsen. But because I think, you can learn something from everyone. And everyone plays like interesting games, but I just have a very weird style, so it's hard for me to just like choose one kind of player.
That's a really great answer. So you like the weirder players now.
Yeah, because I kind of accepted that I just have but I play weird too, so might as well.
I love it. Very, very wonderful time with Jennifer Yu. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And like Yasha said, or Yashmini, Yash, that puzzles were just really wonderful, very exciting and, inspiring. So thanks for choosing them. And as Kale said, you have a great creative mindset. Love it. Thank you for joining us, Jen. It's really wonderful. I do have one question from the Twitter sphere about what your opinion is on getting more girls into the game, because we have 15%, not even, maybe 14% of the US chess membership is female. So obviously we come together to like celebrate the amazing girls and women who play, but we would love there to be even more of them. So I know you get this question a lot, but I still have to ask it again because I'm curious if you have any new thoughts on it.
I think that I kind of stand by what I used to say, which is I think, you just need to get more girls from a young age to start playing. So it's great to see all of you guys here because, if we have more girls, we have a bigger community. And I think that was really important to me growing up. A lot of my closest chess friends were just the other girls that would meet at tournaments because there were so few of us. And it's very sad to see that many of them have kind of stopped playing over the years. But so that's also kind of an issue. But I think that there is kind of an upwards trajectory now, because I think like that number 15%, like it might not be that big, but I think it's from when I started playing chess, I think it was a lot lower, probably like maybe half as much. So, maybe slowly one day we can get up towards half. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
When you were someday.
I think you're right. When you were playing as a kid, it was probably more like 9 or 10. So it's definitely gone up a lot. And the person actually asked this is Joe Yee on Twitter. He asked if you had any gender-based obstacles. He asked, what are some of the gender-based obstacles you encountered that might have discouraged some other girls from pursuing chess more seriously?
I think a lot of it was just, especially when I was younger, just feeling a little bit left out a lot of times at tournaments or at kind of events. Like for a very long time, I didn't have like good chess friends until I like met these girls. So that was kind of an obstacle. And then it just, kind of like I've definitely considered when I was like in middle school and high school to kind of stop playing and then kind of just toughed it out. But there was many times where I just I almost quit, but I'm very happy that I'm here today. I'm now like, there was also a time where I thought I'd retire in college, like forever, just a few years ago in high school actually. But, now I'm coming back and I want to compete again. So I think it's very hard to say.
That's great, though. I think you're right. The friendships are so important. And by the way, anybody here who's coming to the K-12 Nationals in Baltimore in 2 weeks from now, there will be a girls' club room. So yeah, raise your hand, make a Zoom reaction, let us know. So there's going to be Sabina Foiser is going to be around. I'll be there, and Carolina Blanco will be there. Sadly, Jen will be back at Harvard, so we won't see her this time, but she's been at these events in the past inspiring us, and it's been really wonderful. So that's a great way to make friends if you're not on a team with girls at the moment. So I hope to see a bunch of you there. Madison, I like what you said. Girls, they fight to the end no matter what. Well, certainly Jennifer Yu embodies that spirit as she won the U.S. Women's Championship in a way that can only be described as the fight never ends. So thank you again, Jen, for joining us and imparting so much wisdom. I'm going to let everybody say goodbye as they leave. I turned off the unmute yourself button. Wait, I think I just turned it on. Allow participants to unmute themselves. Okay. Yeah, so everybody say bye and We'll see you next time on Saturday. Some of
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.